Evelyn Carter had always known that space was vast. It stretched out endlessly, full of stars and mysteries waiting to be uncovered. But what she hadn't expected when she joined the fleet was how small some people could make her feel. She stood by the engineering console aboard the SS Horizon, her fingers moving quickly over the glowing touch panels. Around her, the hum of machinery filled the air, punctuated by occasional bursts of chatter from nearby crew members. This was her domain, where she felt most alive, surrounded by circuits, engines, and the promise of discovery. The SS Horizon wasn't just any ship. It was one of humanity's finest vessels, built to explore uncharted regions of space. Its mission was ambitious, and its crew was made up of the best minds Earth had to offer. Evelyn herself was no exception. As one of the top engineers in Yandi, the fleet, she had earned her place through sheer determination and skill. Yet despite her achievements, there were those who still doubted her abilities, not because of what she did, but because of who she was. Captain Harold Grayson and Commander Ryan Mitchell were two such individuals. Both men held positions of authority aboard the SS Horizon, and both carried with them outdated beliefs about race and gender. To them, Evelyn's presence in such a critical role felt like an affront to tradition. They never said anything outright offensive, at least not where others could hear, but their disdain seeped through in quieter ways. A dismissive comment here, a condescending glance there. Over time, these small actions added up, creating an invisible barrier between Evelyn and the rest of the command staff. Still, Evelyn refused to let their attitudes break her spirit. She focused instead on her work, pouring every ounce of energy into perfecting the prototype energy shield she'd been developing. If successful, the shield would revolutionize space travel by protecting ships during hyperspace jumps, a feat long thought impossible. For months, Evelyn had worked tirelessly, running simulations, tweaking algorithms, and collaborating with her team. And now, after countless hours of effort, the final test was only days away. But fate has a way of throwing obstacles in even the brightest paths. On the morning of the test, everything seemed normal. Evelyn arrived early, double-checking each component of the shield generator. She greeted her assistant, Ensign Laura Bennett, with a smile before diving back into her routine. Laura admired Evelyn deeply, seeing her as a role model. "You've got this," Laura said confidently as they prepared for the trial run. When the moment came, Evelyn activated the shield. At first it appeared to function perfectly, enveloping the ship in a shimmering blue barrier. But then something went wrong. A loud crack echoed through the engineering bay, followed by a jolt that sent several crew members stumbling. Alarms blared as the shield destabilized, causing minor damage to the ship's outer hull. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the incident left everyone shaken. Evelyn immediately began analyzing the problem, her mind racing to identify the cause. It didn't take long for her to realize that the malfunction wasn't due to any error on her part. Someone had tampered with the system, introducing a flaw that caused the instability. Before she could report her findings, however, Captain Grayson stormed into the bay, his face red with anger. "What happened here?" he demanded, glaring at Evelyn. His tone was sharp, accusatory. Evelyn straightened, meeting his gaze without flinching. "There was a malfunction," she explained calmly. "I'm investigating the cause." Grayson scoffed, shaking his head. "This is unacceptable, Lieutenant. Your incompetence has put this entire mission at risk." Beside him, Commander Mitchell nodded in agreement, his lips curling into a smug smile. Evelyn clenched her jaw, resisting the urge to argue. She knew better than to lose her temper in front of them. Over the next few hours, the situation escalated rapidly. Grayson and Mitchell convened an emergency meeting with Admiral William Hayes, the highest-ranking official aboard the SS Horizon. By the time Evelyn was summoned to attend, rumors were already spreading throughout the ship. Some accused her of negligence, while others whispered darker theories that she might have sabotaged the shield deliberately. During the meeting, Evelyn listened silently as Grayson presented his case against her. He cited incomplete logs and alleged inconsistencies in her reports, painting a picture of carelessness and incompetence. Evelyn wanted to interrupt, to defend herself, but she forced herself to stay quiet until it was her turn to speak. When the moment finally came, she stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. "With all due respect, sir," she began, addressing Admiral Hayes directly. "The malfunction was not caused by human error. I believe someone tampered with the system, intentionally." Her words hung in the air, met with skeptical stares. Grayson leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "Is that so?" he asked mockingly. "And who exactly would do such a thing? Do you have any evidence to support this claim?" Evelyn hesitated. She didn't yet have concrete proof, only her instincts telling her something wasn't right. Still, she pressed on. "I'm working on identifying the source of the interference," she said firmly. "But I can assure you, my team, and I followed every protocol to the letter." Admiral Hayes studied her carefully, his expression unreadable. After a long pause, he nodded. "Very well," he said. "You'll have 24 hours to present your findings. Until then, consider yourself under review." As Evelyn left the meeting, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into a trap. Grayson and Mitchell weren't just trying to blame her, they were setting her up. The realization filled her with frustration but also resolve. She wouldn't let them win, not this time. Back in the engineering bay, Evelyn found Laura waiting anxiously. "Are you okay?" Laura asked, her voice tinged with worry. Evelyn managed a small smile. "I'll be fine," she replied, "but we need to figure out what really happened, and fast." Together, they began combing through the data, searching for clues. It was painstaking work, requiring patience and precision. Hours passed and exhaustion started to set in, but Evelyn refused to give up. Somewhere in the tangled web of information lay the truth, and she was determined to find it. As she worked, memories surfaced unbidden, reminders of the challenges she'd faced throughout her life. Growing up in a predominantly white neighborhood, she'd often been treated differently because of the color of her skin. Teachers underestimated her intelligence, peers excluded her from social circles, and strangers questioned whether she truly belonged. Those experiences had shaped her, teaching her resilience and perseverance. They had also fueled her passion for science and engineering, giving her a sense of purpose. Now aboard the SS Horizon, she found herself facing similar prejudices, albeit in a different form. But this time she wasn't alone. She had allies like Laura who believed in her, and mentors like Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks, who respected her talent. Most importantly, she had herself, her strength, her intellect, and her unwavering commitment to doing what was right. By the time the clock struck midnight, Evelyn had uncovered something significant. Traces of unauthorized access in the shield's programming. Someone had altered the code shortly before the test, introducing a fatal flaw. Though she couldn't yet pinpoint the culprit, she knew she was closer to exposing the truth. Exhausted but hopeful, Evelyn leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples. The battle was far from over, but she felt a spark of hope igniting within her. Whatever Grayson and Mitchell had planned, she would fight back and she would emerge victorious. The next morning brought little relief for Evelyn Carter. The weight of the accusations hung heavy on her shoulders as she walked through the corridors of the SS Horizon. Crew members whispered behind her back, their eyes following her every move. Some looked sympathetic while others seemed distrustful. Evelyn ignored them all, keeping her head high. She knew that proving her innocence wasn't just about clearing her name. It was about standing up to the injustice that had been directed at her. When she reached the engineering bay, she found Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks already hard at work. A grizzled man in his 50s with a no-nonsense attitude, Daniel was known for being tough but fair. He glanced up as Evelyn entered, his sharp blue eyes studying her face. "You holding up all right?" he asked gruffly, though there was a hint of concern in his voice. Evelyn nodded. "I'll be fine," she replied, forcing a small smile. "But I need to find out who did this." Daniel crossed his arms, leaning against the console. "Grayson and Mitchell are dirty players," he said bluntly. They've got something against you and they're using this mess to take you down. I know, Evelyn admitted. But I can't let them get away with it. Daniel grunted, in agreement. After a moment of silence, he added, You're good at what you do, Lieutenant. Better than most. Don't let those cowards make you doubt yourself. His words gave Evelyn a small boost of confidence. It wasn't often that Daniel offered praise, so when he did, it carried weight. She decided to share her findings with him, showing him the traces of unauthorized access she'd discovered in the SHIELD's programming. As they pored over the data together, Daniel's expression grew increasingly grim. This isn't just sabotage, he muttered. It's personal. Someone wanted to frame you. Evelyn sighed heavily. That's what I thought too. But without solid proof, it's my word against theirs. Not necessarily, came a voice from behind them. Both turned to see Ensign Laura Bennett standing there, clutching a tablet. Her dark brown eyes were wide with excitement. I think I might have found something. Laura hurried over, placing the tablet on the console. On the screen was a series of encrypted messages exchanged between Captain Grayson and Commander Mitchell. Though the text was scrambled, fragments of phrases stood out. Discredit her, plant evidence, and make sure she takes the fall. Evelyn's heart raced as she read the incriminating words. How did you get this? She asked, stunned. I tapped into the ship's internal communications logs, Laura explained. It wasn't easy, they were careful to cover their tracks, but I managed to piece some things together. Evelyn felt a surge of gratitude toward the younger woman. Laura had risked a lot by digging into restricted files, and her bravery could mean the difference between exoneration and ruin. This is incredible, Evelyn said softly. Thank you. Laura smiled nervously. I couldn't just stand by and watch them destroy you. You've done so much for this ship and for me. With renewed determination, Evelyn set to work analyzing the messages further. Together, she, Laura, and Daniel pieced together a timeline of events leading up to the SHIELD malfunction. It became clear that Grayson and Mitchell had orchestrated the entire incident, planting false evidence to implicate Evelyn. Armed with this knowledge, Evelyn began formulating a plan to expose their scheme. As the day wore on, the trio worked tirelessly, barely taking breaks. At one point, Daniel left briefly to fetch food, returning with sandwiches and cups of coffee. Can't have you two collapsing from exhaustion, he said gruffly, handing out the supplies. Despite the tension, moments like these reminded Evelyn why she loved working aboard the SS Horizon. Even in the face of adversity, she wasn't alone. People like Daniel and Laura believed in her, and that made all the difference. By evening, Evelyn had compiled enough evidence to present during the follow-up meeting scheduled for the next day. She reviewed everything one last time, ensuring there were no gaps in her argument. When she finally called it a night, she felt a flicker of hope, a feeling she hadn't experienced since the incident occurred. That night, Evelyn lay awake in her quarters, staring at the ceiling. Memories of her childhood flooded her mind, reminding her of the struggles she'd overcome to reach this point. Growing up, she'd faced discrimination not only from peers, but also from adults who doubted her potential. Teachers had told her, parents she wouldn't amount to much, and classmates had teased her for being different. Yet through it all, she'd persevered, driven by a desire to prove them wrong. Now, aboard the SS Horizon, she found herself confronting similar prejudices. But instead of letting bitterness consume her, she channeled her frustration into action. Every challenge she faced only strengthened her resolve to succeed, not just for herself, but for others who might walk in her shoes someday. The following morning, Evelyn arrived at the meeting room early, determined to stay calm and composed. Admiral Hayes was already seated at the head of the table, flanked by several senior officers. When Grayson and Mitchell entered, they avoided making eye contact with Evelyn, their expressions smug. Clearly, they believed they'd won. Once everyone was settled, Admiral Hayes opened the discussion. Lieutenant Carter, he began, you've had 24 hours to investigate the cause of the SHIELD malfunction. What have you found? Evelyn rose from her seat, her posture confident. Sir, she began, addressing the Admiral directly. The malfunction was not caused by human error. Instead, it was the result of deliberate tampering with the system. Murmurs rippled through the room as Evelyn displayed the evidence on a large screen. She walked the group through the unauthorized access logs, the altered code, and finally, the encrypted messages between Grayson and Mitchell. Gasps of shock echoed as the truth unfolded before their eyes. Grayson slammed his fist on the table, his face turning red. "This is ridiculous," he shouted. "She's lying. Those messages are fake." Commander Mitchell chimed in, his voice trembling with panic. "Yes, she hacked into our communications to fabricate this nonsense." Admiral Hayes raised a hand, silencing them both. His gaze shifted to Evelyn, who met it steadily. "Do you have any explanation for how these messages were obtained?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Evelyn replied. "Ensign Bennett retrieved them from the ship's internal logs. I can assure you they're authentic." Hayes nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. Turning to Grayson and Mitchell, he said, "You, too, will remain under suspension pending further investigation. Lieutenant Carter, your status is restored effective immediately." Relief washed over Evelyn, but she didn't allow herself to celebrate just yet. She knew this victory was only the beginning. As the meeting adjourned, she caught sight of Laura and Daniel waiting outside the door. Both wore proud smiles, and Laura gave her a thumbs up. Later that day, Evelyn returned to the engineering bay where she resumed work on the Energy Shield project. With Grayson and Mitchell out of the picture, she felt a newfound sense of freedom. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to dream about the future, not just her own, but the future of the fleet and the countless lives her invention could protect. Though the road ahead would undoubtedly be challenging, Evelyn faced it with courage and determination. She had proven that even in the darkest moments, resilience and integrity could shine through. And as she gazed out at the endless expanse of stars beyond the ship's windows, she felt ready to take on whatever came next. With Grayson and Mitchell suspended, Evelyn Carter finally felt like she could breathe again. The weight that had been crushing her chest for days began to lift, replaced by a sense of purpose. She wasn't naive enough to think the fight was over, far from it, but exposing their conspiracy had given her momentum. Now she was determined to dig deeper and uncover the full extent of the corruption festering within the fleet. Back in the engineering bay, Evelyn gathered her team, Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks and Ensign Laura Bennett. They were more than just, colleagues now. They were allies bound together by a shared goal. "We've only scratched the surface," Evelyn said, pacing back and forth as she spoke. "Grayson and Mitchell didn't act alone. There's something bigger going on here." Daniel leaned against a console, his arms crossed. "You think this goes beyond the SS Horizon?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "I do," Evelyn replied, firmly. "They wanted to discredit me because of what I represent, and because of the work I'm doing. But why stop there? If they're willing to sabotage my project, who's to say they haven't done the same to others?" Laura nodded thoughtfully. "It makes sense. People like them don't just target one person. They go after anyone who threatens their power." Evelyn turned to the glowing screens around them, her mind racing. If we can find proof of a larger network, we might be able to expose not just them, but everyone involved. The trio spent the next several hours combing through the ship's systems, searching for any leads. Laura focused on decrypting more communications while Daniel helped Evelyn analyze patterns in the tampered data. It was slow, painstaking work, but each new discovery fueled their resolve. Late that night, Laura let out a quiet gasp. "I found something," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. On her tablet was a list of names, all high-ranking officials across multiple ships. Attached to each name were notes detailing projects they had allegedly sabotaged or suppressed. Some entries specifically mentioned minority engineers whose innovations had been dismissed or stolen outright. "This is it," Evelyn whispered, staring at the screen. "This is the conspiracy." Daniel frowned, rubbing his temples. "These people won't go down without a fight. Exposing them won't be easy." "No, it won't," Evelyn agreed, "but we have to try. For everyone who's been silenced." As dawn broke, the three of them finalized their plan. They would use the evidence to confront Admiral Hayes directly, ensuring that the investigation extended beyond the SS Horizon. But first, Evelyn needed to strengthen her position. She decided to complete the energy shield prototype, a symbol of everything she stood for, and present it alongside the damning information. Over the next few days, Evelyn threw herself into her work, pouring every ounce of energy into perfecting the shield. With Daniel and Laura assisting her, progress came quickly. By the time the prototype was ready, it was sleek and powerful, capable of protecting the ship during even the most dangerous hyperspace jumps. Evelyn knew it would serve as undeniable proof of her capabilities, and a testament to the brilliance of marginalized voices everywhere. When the day of the presentation arrived, Evelyn stood before Admiral Hayes and a group of senior officers in the ship's main conference room. The atmosphere was tense, with all eyes fixed on her. She began by showcasing the energy shield, demonstrating its functionality with holographic simulations. As the shield shimmered to life on the screen, murmurs of awe rippled through the room. "This is the future," Evelyn declared, her voice steady and confident. "A future where innovation isn't stifled by prejudice. A future where talent is recognized, no matter who you are or where you come from." After the demonstration, Evelyn shifted gears, presenting the evidence of the conspiracy. She displayed the list of names, the incriminating notes, and the decrypted messages. Each revelation sent shockwaves through the room, leaving some officers visibly shaken. Admiral Hayes listened intently, his expression growing darker with each piece of evidence. When Evelyn finished, he leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "Lieutenant Carter," he said gravely, "if what you've shown us is true, then we're dealing with systemic corruption. This isn't just about one ship. It's about the entire fleet." "It is true, sir," Evelyn replied. "And if we don't address it now, it will only get worse." Hayes nodded slowly. "Very well. I'll launch a fleet-wide investigation immediately. In the meantime, consider yourself reinstated as head of the Energy Shield project." Relief washed over Evelyn, but she didn't allow herself to relax just yet. She knew the real battle was still ahead. As the meeting adjourned, she noticed Daniel and Laura waiting outside the door. Both wore proud smiles, and Daniel gave her a rare nod of approval. "You did good, kid," he said gruffly. "Real good." "Thanks to both of you," Evelyn replied, smiling warmly. "I couldn't have done it without your help." Later that evening, Evelyn returned to the observation deck, a place she often visited when she needed to think. The vast expanse of stars stretched out before her, endless and beautiful. She thought about the road ahead and the challenges she would face, but she also thought about the opportunities to inspire change, to empower others, and to build a better future. Her thoughts drifted back to her childhood, to the times when she'd felt invisible or unworthy because of her race. Those experiences had shaped her, teaching her resilience and perseverance. Now, standing on the brink of something greater, she realized how far she'd come. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for everyone who had ever been told they didn't belong. As she gazed out at the stars, Evelyn felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew there would be obstacles. Powerful people wouldn't give up their control easily, but she was ready. With the support of her allies and the strength of her convictions, she believed anything was possible. For the first time in weeks, Evelyn allowed herself to dream. She imagined a fleet where diversity was celebrated, where innovation thrived, and where no one was held back by prejudice. It was a vision worth fighting for, and she was determined to make it a reality. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but Evelyn Carter had never backed down from a challenge, and as long as she had the courage to keep moving forward, she knew she could overcome anything. Evelyn Carter had always trusted her instincts, and right now they were screaming at her to dig deeper. The conspiracy she had uncovered went beyond Grayson and Mitchell. It was a web of corruption that stretched across the fleet. But proving it meant finding hard evidence, something concrete that couldn't be dismissed or covered up. She knew where to look: the SS Horizon's hidden systems. Every ship had secrets buried within its walls, and Evelyn was determined to find them. With Daniel Brooks and Laura Bennett by her side, Evelyn began searching for clues. They started in the engineering bay, examining every inch of the ship's infrastructure. It wasn't long before Laura noticed something unusual. A section of the wall near the main power core seemed slightly off. Upon closer inspection, Evelyn discovered a hidden access panel cleverly disguised as part of the bulkhead. Her heart raced as she pried it open, revealing a secret communication hub. The hub was a tangle of wires, blinking lights, and holographic displays. It was clear this wasn't standard equipment. It had been installed covertly. "This must be how they communicated without being detected," Evelyn said, her voice low but steady. Daniel leaned over her shoulder, studying the setup. "It's sophisticated," he muttered. "Whoever built this knew what they were doing." Laura stepped forward, holding a small scanning device. "I can trace the signals," she offered. "If we're lucky, we might find out who else is involved." For hours, the trio worked tirelessly, piecing together fragments of information. The hub contained encrypted transmissions, logs of meetings, and even references to other ships. As they decrypted the data, a chilling picture emerged. What Evelyn had suspected was true. Grayson and Mitchell were part of a larger network of high-ranking officials who actively suppressed innovation led by minority engineers. Their goal was simple: maintain control by keeping marginalized voices silent. "This isn't just about me," Evelyn whispered, scrolling through the files. "They've been targeting people like me for years." Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then let's make sure they pay for it." By the time they finished, exhaustion weighed heavily on all of them, but their spirits were high. They had found exactly what they needed: proof of a widespread conspiracy designed to stifle progress and perpetuate inequality. Now, it was time to act. The next morning, Evelyn requested an emergency meeting with Admiral Hayes. When she entered the conference room, she carried not only the evidence from the hidden hub, but also renewed determination. Hayes sat at the head of the table, his expression serious. He had already begun the fleet-wide investigation, but Evelyn knew this new information would take things to another level. "Admiral," Evelyn began, standing tall despite the weight of what she was about to reveal. "We've uncovered something significant. This isn't just about Grayson and Mitchell, it's about a network of corruption spanning multiple ships." She projected the decrypted data onto the large screen, walking Hayes and the other officers through the details. Names, dates, locations, it was all there, laid bare for everyone to see. Some of the names belonged to respected figures within the fleet, individuals no one would have suspected. Gasps of disbelief rippled through the room as the truth sank in. Hayes stared at the screen, his jaw clenched. "How deep does this go?" he asked, his voice heavy with anger and frustration. "It goes all the way to the top," Evelyn replied. "These people have been working together for years, sabotaging projects and ruining careers to protect their power." Hayes stood abruptly, pacing the length of the room. After a moment, he turned back to Evelyn. "You've done extraordinary work, Lieutenant, but exposing this won't be easy. Many of these individuals are highly influential. If we move too quickly, they'll retaliate." "I understand the risks, sir," Evelyn said firmly. "But if we don't act now, nothing will change. We owe it to everyone who's been silenced to fight for justice." Hayes nodded slowly, his resolve hardening. "Very well. I'll escalate this to Command Central. In the meantime, you'll need protection. Whoever is behind this won't hesitate to come after you." Evelyn appreciated the concern, but she didn't feel afraid. Not anymore. She had faced adversity her entire life, and each challenge had made her stronger. With Daniel and Laura watching her back, she felt invincible. As the days passed, the investigation gained momentum. Ships across the fleet were searched, and more hidden hubs were discovered. The evidence mounted, painting an undeniable picture of systemic corruption. Publicly, the scandal sent shockwaves through the fleet, sparking conversations about accountability and equality. Privately, Evelyn became a symbol of hope for those who had been marginalized. Her victory wasn't just personal, it was collective. Engineers, scientists, and crew members from underrepresented backgrounds began stepping forward, sharing their own stories of discrimination and suppression. Evelyn listened to each one, offering support and encouragement. She knew the fight for justice was far from over, but seeing others inspired to speak out gave her strength. In the engineering bay, Evelyn continued refining the energy shield prototype. With the conspiracy exposed, she no longer faced resistance from higher-ups. Instead, she received praise and admiration from her peers. Even some of the skeptics who had doubted her initially came around, acknowledging her brilliance and dedication. Laura remained by her side, assisting with the final adjustments. "You've changed everything," Laura said one evening as they worked late into the night. "Not just for yourself, but for all of us." Evelyn smiled softly. "We did this together. You and Daniel believed in me when no one else did. That made all the difference," Daniel chimed in, leaning against a nearby console. "Don't forget, kid, you earned it. Talent like yours doesn't come around often." Despite the progress, Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that the battle wasn't entirely won. The individuals involved in the conspiracy were powerful, and while many had been removed from their positions, others still lurked in the shadows. She vowed to remain vigilant, knowing the fight for equality required constant effort. One evening, Evelyn returned to the observation deck, her favorite place aboard the SS Horizon. The stars twinkled endlessly outside the window, reminding her of the infinite possibilities ahead. She thought about the challenges she'd overcome and the victories yet to come. For so long, she had carried the weight of prejudice on her shoulders, but now she felt lighter, as though she had finally broken free. Her journey wasn't just about proving herself anymore. It was about creating a future where no one had to face the same struggles she had endured. A future where talent and hard work were recognized, regardless of race or background. And as she gazed out at the vast expanse of space, Evelyn knew she was ready to lead the charge. The road ahead would be difficult, but Evelyn Carter had never shied away from a challenge. With her allies beside her and her convictions guiding her, she was prepared to face whatever came next. The stars were calling, and she intended to answer with courage, resilience, and unwavering hope. The scandal rocked the fleet like nothing before. News of the conspiracy spread quickly, reaching every corner of the organization. Crew members aboard ships across the galaxy discussed it in hushed tones during meals, whispered about it in corridors, and debated it in meetings. For some, it was a wake-up call, a stark reminder of how deeply rooted prejudice could fester even in the most advanced societies. For others, it was a moment of vindication, proof that their struggles were real and valid. Evelyn Carter had become the face of this movement, whether she wanted to be or not. She didn't seek fame or recognition. All she ever wanted was fairness. But as stories of her courage and resilience spread, people began to see her as more than just an engineer. They saw her as a leader, a trailblazer, someone who refused to back down when faced with injustice. And while Evelyn felt humbled by the attention, she also knew the work wasn't done yet. Admiral Hayes kept his promise, escalating the investigation to Command Central. Within weeks, sweeping reforms were announced throughout the fleet. New policies were implemented to promote diversity and inclusion, ensuring that marginalized voices would no longer be silenced. Training programs were introduced to address unconscious bias, and independent oversight committees were established to monitor decision-making processes. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start, a foundation upon which real change could be built. For Evelyn, these changes meant more than just new rules and regulations. They represented hope. Hope that future generations wouldn't have to fight the same battles she did. Hope that talent and hard work would finally take precedence over prejudice. And hope that the fleet could become what it was always meant, to be a force for exploration, innovation, and unity. But Evelyn's journey wasn't just about systemic reform. It was also personal. In the aftermath of the scandal, she found herself reflecting on her own life, her choices, and the path that had brought her here. Growing up, she had often felt like an outsider, caught between two worlds. At home, she was surrounded by love and support, but outside she faced constant reminders that she didn't belong. Teachers doubted her abilities. Classmates teased her appearance, and strangers questioned her worth simply because of the color of her skin. Yet through it all, she persevered. Her parents instilled in her a sense of pride and purpose, teaching her to rise above hate and focus on what truly mattered, her dreams. Engineering became her escape, her passion, and eventually, her calling. When she joined the fleet, she carried those lessons with her, determined to prove that she deserved her place among the stars. Now, standing on the brink of something greater, Evelyn realized how far she'd come. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for everyone who had ever been told they weren't good enough. Every challenge she faced, every obstacle she overcame, strengthened her resolve to create a better future, not just for herself, but for others. With the Energy Shield project completed, Evelyn turned her focus to mentoring young engineers. She spent hours working with aspiring inventors, sharing her knowledge and encouraging them to pursue their passions. Among them was Ensign Laura Bennett, whose confidence grew exponentially under Evelyn's guidance. "You remind me of myself," Evelyn told her one day. "Don't let anyone tell you you can't do something. Show them what you're capable of." Laura smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. "I wouldn't be here without you," she said softly. "You've changed everything, for me, for the fleet, for everyone." Evelyn shook her head. "No, Laura. You're the one changing things. I'm just helping you along the way." Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks also noticed the shift in morale aboard the SS Horizon. Once gruff and distant, he now took a more active role in fostering teamwork and collaboration. He credited Evelyn for inspiring him to rethink his approach. "She showed us what leadership looks like," he admitted to another officer one day. "And I'll be damned if I don't try to live up to that example." As the weeks turned into months, Evelyn continued to push boundaries both professionally and personally. She led discussions about equality, gave speeches at fleet-wide conferences, and advocated for policy changes that prioritized fairness and transparency. Her efforts earned her respect from colleagues and superiors alike, many of whom had initially underestimated her. One evening, Evelyn returned to the observation deck, her favorite place aboard the ship. The stars stretched out endlessly before her, shimmering against the dark canvas of space. She thought about the challenges she'd faced and the victories she'd achieved. She thought about the allies she'd gained and the enemies she'd defeated. Most of all, she thought about the future, the infinite possibilities waiting to be explored. Behind her, footsteps echoed softly. Turning, she saw Laura and Daniel approaching, their expressions warm and proud. "Mind if we join you?" Daniel asked gruffly, though there was a hint of kindness in his voice. "Of course," Evelyn replied, stepping aside to make room. Together, the three of them stood in silence, gazing out at the vast expanse of space. Each lost in their thoughts, yet united by a shared sense of purpose. "You've done something incredible, Evelyn," Laura said after a while. "Not just for the fleet, but for all of us." Evelyn smiled faintly. "We've done it together," she corrected gently. "None of this would have been possible without you two, and everyone else who believed in me." Daniel nodded, his usual stoic demeanor softening. "You've earned your place, kid. Don't forget that." As the ship drifted silently through the cosmos, Evelyn felt a profound sense of peace. The road ahead would still have its challenges, but she was ready. With allies like Laura and Daniel by her side, and the unwavering belief that justice and equality were worth fighting for, she knew she could overcome anything. The stars called to her, promising adventure and discovery. And as Evelyn Carter stood there gazing out at the endless horizon, she felt certain of one thing: the best was yet to come. The reforms sweeping through the fleet brought more than just policy changes. They ignited a spark of inspiration among the crew. People who had once felt invisible now saw themselves as part of something bigger. For Evelyn Carter, this shift was both humbling and exhilarating. She never imagined that exposing corruption would lead to such widespread transformation, but she embraced her role as a catalyst for change. One of the most significant developments came when Admiral Hayes announced the creation of a new initiative, Project Horizon. Named after the SS Horizon, this program aimed to foster innovation by supporting projects led by underrepresented groups within the fleet. Engineers, scientists, and designers from all backgrounds were invited to submit proposals for groundbreaking technologies and missions. The goal was simple: to ensure that everyone had an equal opportunity to contribute to humanity's future. Evelyn was asked to oversee Project Horizon, a responsibility she accepted with both excitement and trepidation. It was a chance to make a lasting impact, but it also meant taking on even greater challenges. Still, she couldn't resist the opportunity to help others bring their ideas to life. "This isn't just about me anymore," she told Laura during one of their late-night conversations. "It's about giving people the platform they deserve." With Daniel's support, Evelyn assembled a team to manage the project. Laura played a key role helping review submissions and coordinate efforts across departments. Together, they worked tirelessly to evaluate hundreds of proposals, each one brimming with creativity and potential. From sustainable energy solutions to advanced medical technologies, the range of ideas was staggering. Among the standout projects was a proposal for a new type of deep space exploration vessel. Designed by a young engineer named Marcus Lee, the ship promised unparalleled speed and efficiency, capable of reaching distant galaxies faster than ever before. Evelyn immediately recognized its potential and championed the idea, securing funding and resources to move forward. As construction began, Evelyn found herself spending more time in the hangar bay, overseeing the development of the prototype. Watching the sleek craft take shape filled her with pride, not just because of its capabilities, but because it represented everything she believed in. This wasn't just a machine. It was a symbol of progress, collaboration, and hope. During this time, Evelyn continued mentoring aspiring engineers, dedicating hours to guiding them through the complexities of their work. She encouraged them to think boldly, reminding them that failure was simply part of the process. "Every mistake teaches you something," she often said. "Don't be afraid to push boundaries." Her words resonated deeply with those around her. Many began stepping out of their comfort zones, tackling ambitious projects they might have otherwise avoided. One such individual was Ensign Ava Patel, a shy but brilliant programmer who developed a revolutionary navigation system for hyperspace travel. With Evelyn's encouragement, Ava presented her invention at a fleet-wide conference, earning widespread acclaim. "I wouldn't have done it without you," Ava confessed afterward, her voice trembling with gratitude. "You made me believe I could achieve anything." Evelyn smiled warmly. "That belief was always inside you," she replied. "I just helped you see it." While the fleet celebrated these achievements, Evelyn remained mindful of the ongoing fight against prejudice. Though the conspiracy had been exposed, remnants of bias still lingered in subtle ways. Some officers resisted the reforms, clinging to outdated beliefs. Others paid lip service to equality without truly embracing it. Evelyn knew that systemic change required constant vigilance, and she refused to let complacency set in. To address these lingering issues, she organized workshops and discussion panels focused on fostering empathy and understanding. These sessions provided a safe space for crew members to share their experiences and learn from one another. Over time, attitudes began to shift, creating a culture of mutual respect and collaboration. Despite her busy schedule, Evelyn found moments of peace in the observation deck, where she often reflected on how far she'd come. Each star outside the window seemed to tell a story, a reminder of the infinite possibilities ahead. She thought about her childhood, the struggles she faced, and the dreams that kept her going. Now, standing on the brink of something extraordinary, she felt grateful for every step of the journey. One evening, as she gazed out at the stars, Daniel joined her holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you could use a break," he said gruffly, handing her one. "Thanks," Evelyn replied, accepting the drink with a smile. They stood in companionable silence for a while, watching the cosmos stretch endlessly before them. You've changed things, kid, Daniel said finally. Not just for the fleet, but for all of us. Don't underestimate what that means. Evelyn shook her head. Change doesn't happen because of one person. It takes everyone working together. Daniel chuckled softly. Maybe so, but you're the one who lit the fire. His words stayed with her long after they returned to their duties. As much as Evelyn tried to downplay her role, she knew Daniel was right. She had sparked something, a movement toward a brighter, fairer future, and while the road ahead would undoubtedly have its challenges, she felt ready to face them head-on. The launch of Marcus Lee's exploration vessel marked a major milestone for Project Horizon. Crew members gathered in the hangar bay, their faces alight with anticipation. Evelyn stood near the front, her heart swelling with pride as the sleek craft powered up, its engines humming softly. When Marcus stepped forward to thank everyone involved, his voice cracked with emotion. This wouldn't have been possible without Lieutenant Carter, he said, turning to Evelyn. She believed in me when no one else did. She gave me a chance to prove myself. Evelyn nodded, her eyes glistening. You earned this, Marcus. All of you did. As the vessel prepared for its maiden voyage, cheers erupted throughout the hangar. Evelyn watched as it soared into the vast unknown, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of countless individuals. It was a moment of triumph, not just for the fleet but for humanity itself. Later that night, Evelyn returned to the observation deck where Laura awaited her. How are you feeling? Laura asked, sensing her mentor's reflective mood. Proud, Evelyn admitted, but also aware of how much work still needs to be done. Laura nodded. You've already accomplished so much, just remember, you don't have to do it all alone. Evelyn smiled faintly. I know, and I'm lucky to have people like you by my side. Together they stood in silence, gazing out at the endless expanse of stars. The future was uncertain, but Evelyn felt confident they could handle whatever came next. With allies like Laura, Daniel, and countless others, she knew they could build a world where everyone had a chance to shine. For Evelyn Carter, the journey was far from over. But as she looked out at the horizon, she felt certain of one thing. The best was yet to come.